President Roosevelt famously said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And that's what we do. That's, if there's one statement that manifests what the Veteran Immersion Program is all about, it's that. We want to make a big difference in helping you transition. And I'll say this, none of it would be possible without our Paramount Global Veterans Network leadership team. I can think of no better model of excellence, someone who has lived this each day more than Bob Bakish. From the moment he left Columbia University with a degree in engineering, Bob has been in some phase of dealing with the difficulties of change, transition, and transformation. From his days as a partner at Booz Allen to his first day at Viacom nearly 3 decades ago, he's remained laser focused as he served in dozens of critical leadership roles, facing difficulties, challenges, and change at every turn, not to mention managing this company and leading through a once in a lifetime pandemic. He has shaped an industry. He's reinvented a company, bootstrapped his way to the top, came up through the ranks, earned the respect and trust of everyone along the way. And every day leads with purpose, with heart, and he inspires and force multiplies all along the way. We are so fortunate to have him with us today to describe and share his journey, wisdom, and insight with you. My dear friends, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome our ground commander, the Chief Executive Officer of Paramount Global, Mr. Bob Bakish. Bob, welcome.
I'm flattered by that introduction. Great to spend time with you guys today.
You know, I mentioned that all that you've gone through in terms of transition, everything's a transition. And in your leadership, you know, every day is change, right? And success or failure is determined by how you lead through that. And so when you look back on your path, you know, gone to school at Columbia to be an engineer, and then you're all of the different positions you held from AT&T all the way through Viacom, you know, your confidence today was built upon all of that uncertainty. And so just some words of wisdom about how you got through that and how that helped you get to where you are today.
You know, we said a while ago, you know, the only constant is change. And it really is true. You can either lean in or you fight it, embrace it, and look for opportunity in it, because it does create opportunity. It creates challenges and risks as well, for sure. And you got to navigate that. Ultimately, lean in and be part of it. Second thing I'd say is that you need to build your brand. And I mean your personal brand. And what I mean by that is you want to be the person that people depend on. Be there to go the extra mile, being thoughtful. And sometimes as you do that, you have to take risk, and because you don't necessarily know all the time what the answer is. So sometimes you need to risk failing and learn from it and keep going forward.
We had the amazing success that everyone is aware of with Top Gun Maverick. And maybe just talk about that and then just the thought process that went into that.
Yeah, well, you know, that's a film that was in the can for a couple of years. The original release date was in 2020, and then, you know, COVID hit, et cetera. And we moved the release date of that film, I think 4 or 5 times. And at each time, you know, we would have significant conversations. Should we release it into the marketplace? It is a really great film. Tom and Chris McQuarrie did a fantastic job along with the rest of the cast. But we decide, do we release it in a market that we're worried about? Do we release it direct to streaming? Do we release it day and date with streaming? Like, what do we do? I mean, I was quoted once on an earnings call. I remember saying, well, we're not going to light the negatives on fire. And what I meant by that is like, we're going to hold them because we think they're valuable. And, you know, we might have, you know, X hundred million tied up in them, but we're going to wait till there's a friendlier theatrical environment. And at that time, many people were calling for us to release it direct to streaming. And we certainly thought about that. And we even talked to Tom Cruise about that. But ultimately, we decided this is a big picture movie. The theaters will come back. And when it does, we could greatly benefit. But then in doing so, we also threw the weight of the whole company behind it, promoting it, because we thought we had a great film, but we wanted the world to know. Ultimately, in the rearview mirror, we made the right call.
When you look at your teams from a leadership perspective, as you're leading many teams to drive good decision making, what insight can you provide there?
If you look at the values, they're all things I fundamentally believe in. And I would encourage you to look at them, you know, the optimism, determination, inclusivity and collaboration, and agility and adaptability.
What do you find most challenging about working in the media entertainment business? And what is most thrilling to you about it?
This is a business that is, transforming under our feet. I like complicated things where you have to make assumptions about what might happen and make decisions on what you're going to do related to that. It's both super challenging and super exciting. And it's definitely worth coming into the office. I tend to be here 4 days a week, and it's definitely worth coming into the office. There's always something going on. I met someone for breakfast this morning, someone else for lunch. I had a bunch of meetings, obviously meeting you guys today. At the end of the day, it all fits together, or you got to make it fit together. And certainly, you're getting inputs on the environment and thinking about what to do based on all of it. It's this transforming industry that's both challenging and invigorating. But I think an underappreciated skill is, in a way, communications. And it might be in writing, it might be a presentation. It will inevitably come a time where you're gonna have to talk to your boss and convince them of something, or a client and sell them something, or some other constituent. And it's your ability to organize a storyline effectively, think about it as a script, make your main points, figure out how you support them, that ultimately will lead to whether you're successful or not. And I don't think most people think about it that way. It might be from where I come from. I did a stint as a management consultant for 6 years. And in that, I learned how to write presentations and give them. And over time, people have often commented like, I hate the decks you write, because by the time you read them, you can't help but agree. And I'm like, well, that's the point. But it's a learned skill. It's not an innate skill. And I wrote thousands of documents, and then, being able to walk in a room, I don't care who I present to now. It could be the president of the United States, doesn't matter. But when I started out, it's like, oh, I got to go present to this brand manager. I was like petrified. Again, whether it's a formal thing or you're just going and talking to someone, like, think about what you're doing. Don't wing it. Write it down. Like, what are your main points, and how, when pushed, how do you substantiate them? It's a very important skill, and it's not one that people give enough attention to.
How is Paramount giving a platform to diverse voices in front of as well as behind the camera?
Well, really, in so many ways. Many companies are relatively new to this journey. I used to work for a guy named Tom Freston, who ran MTV Networks and then subsequently ran a company called Viacom. He was early in that with a focus on diversity and believed in having people that represent our audiences, et cetera. So it's not a new idea. If you look at what we're doing, it's everything from writers and directors programs at places like Paramount, CBS, and Nickelodeon, giving first-time directors opportunity, again, at various studios. It's making sure that when we hire new people, diverse slates, and we look more broadly than sort of our network, so to speak. The HR folks are involved in that. It's content for change, which is ensuring that we have appropriate representation, including storylines in at least a subsection of our content, so that it's not only impacts us. So it's really a very broad program. In fact, we just sent a draft of our ESG report, which is a public document, to our board. That'll be released, I don't know, next couple of weeks. And you'll be able to, if you want, go look for it and download it. It's a pretty comprehensive document, and it talks about a whole range of things we're doing in the environmental, social, and governance space, including with respect to DE&I. And I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested in the topic. There really is a lot going on. If you talk to advertisers, they'll readily acknowledge that our content slate is the most diverse in the industry, and that's one of the reasons they like to do business with us.
What has been one of your most memorable moments at Paramount Global?
There was the first combined upfront presentation of Viacom Legacy, which was my idea when I was the COO of ad sales. And we did it at a time where we were looking to save some money, and none of the brand presidents wanted to do it. But I said, yeah, we could save money, we should do it. And I basically forced them into it. And it was risky, because if it didn't work, I would have got a lot of grief. But it turned out to be a total home run. And I just remember being at the after party after that, just saying, all right, that was a risk, but that came in. And that was one actually where Tom Freston came over to me. This was a really good idea. And I was like, I still remember that moment.
What do you do when you take those moments to step aside, to decompress?
I like to do a range of things. Believe it or not, I like to cook. I like to wake surf. you know, where you stand behind a boat and you're on a surfboard and you're not holding a rope and you're just carving back and forth. I love that. I love to ski. I love to play guitar. And by the way, I've had memorable moments there. I played on the stage with the Roots at our Christmas party one year, and you can go look at on YouTube for that. Someone posted it. We played Miss You by the Stones. That was a trip. So totally memorable.
How does networking look like on a CEO level, especially with a company such as Paramount?
You know, I've been working in the industry for a while and I know a lot of people, but I'm fortunate in that I'm able to talk to a lot of people, like the VMAs. Like I talked to a couple of the guys running the labels, music labels, and I talked to a few CMOs. It's just interesting to talk to people. You know, is it networking? I don't know if it's networking. Because networking I view as like something tangible. You're trying to get something done. And in all those cases, I wasn't trying to get anything specific done, but it might lead to getting something done, you know?
We're so grateful for you to support our mission and allowing us to do what we do. We are proud to continue the great legacy of those who came before us, because this company has done this. We're just stewards in time for this mission. And in ways that are big and small, we do what the company has always done by making an unwavering commitment to assist our nation's veterans and their families.